They watch us, not in the way your paranoid uncle talks about after too much cheap beer, but with a detached, analytical curiosity. For eons, they observed humanity, cataloging our peculiarities. And for the longest time, their galactic databases flagged a recurring anomaly, a consistent glitch in our operational matrix. Human error. It was their shorthand for our blunders, our miscalculations, our spectacular flameouts, our baffling inability to follow the damn script. But then something shifted. A new understanding rippled through their networks. They realized human error wasn't a bug, it was a feature, it was code. Code for something they, in their eons of predictable perfection, could barely comprehend. Unpredictable genius. You're here because you feel it, don't you? That friction. That sense that the parts of you labeled wrong, too much, not enough, or mistake are actually humming with a different kind of power. You're tired of the shame, the self-doubt, the endless loop of trying to sandpaper down your edges to fit into a world that rewards mediocrity and punishes deviance. This isn't just another pep talk. This is a detonation. We're going to dismantle the lies you've been fed about your so-called weaknesses. We're going to expose the brutal truth that your errors are the raw material of your most potent strength, your most formidable weapon in this chaotic modern life. By the end of this, you won't just understand this alien perspective. You'll embody it. You'll learn to look at your own life, your own mistakes, and see the unmistakable signature of unpredictable genius waiting to be unleashed. Prepare to systematically destroy the weakness that comes from misunderstanding your own nature. Prepare to become unstoppable. Let's begin by dissecting the grand deception, the societal programming that has convinced you to fear your own divergent sparks. For generations, we've been conditioned to see human error as purely negative, a scarlet letter, a reason for punishment, for demotion, for shame. Think about it. School systems penalize wrong answers far more than they reward daring, unconventional questions. Corporate structures often prioritize smooth, predictable processes over disruptive innovation, even if that innovation could redefine the entire game. Why? Because predictable systems are easier to control. Mediocrity is manageable. Genius, especially the unpredictable kind that springs from what looks like error, is messy. It's disruptive. It challenges the status quo. The brutal truth is this: society, in many ways, isn't designed to cultivate your genius if that genius looks like a mistake first. It wants cogs, not wildcards. Your errors, those moments you deviated from the expected path, those times you failed spectacularly while aiming for something audacious, those instances where your raw, unfiltered self burst forth, are often just evidence that you refuse to be a perfectly machined, soulless component. The fear of making these errors is a cage. It keeps you small, predictable, and ultimately weak. We're here to give you the keys to that cage, or better yet, the sledgehammer. This brings us to the first alien revelation, the first pillar in understanding how your flaws are your firepower. Revelation 1. The error of emotional intensity, the fuel of titans. How often have you been told you're too much? Too passionate, too angry, too intense, too sensitive? In a world that medicates and moderates every uncomfortable feeling, genuine emotional intensity is often framed as an error, a lack of control, a problem to be fixed. This is a profound misjudgment. The Stoics knew this. They didn't advocate for the suppression of emotion, but for its understanding and rightful channeling. Your deep wells of feeling, whether it's righteous anger at injustice, burning passion for a cause, profound grief that carves you open, or ecstatic joy that feels like it could light up a city, are not errors. They are raw power. Think of a volcano. Dormant, it's just a mountain. Erupting without direction, it's chaos and destruction. But harnessed, That geothermal energy can power civilizations. Your emotional intensity is that volcanic power. The error isn't the emotion itself, but the lack of skill in transforming its raw heat into directed energy. This is where energy mastery comes in. It's not about becoming numb, it's about becoming a conduit. It's about feeling the full spectrum, the searing rage or the bottomless sorrow. And instead of letting it consume you or spill out destructively, you learn to metabolize it, to alchemize it into focus, into drive, into creativity, into resilience. The negative consequence of buying into the lie that your strong emotions are an error is a life half-lived. You become a muted version of yourself, constantly policing your own heart, terrified of its power. You become predictable, and predictable is the antithesis of genius. The positive outcome of embracing your emotional intensity, of learning to work with it, is that you tap into a near-limitless source of fuel. Your passion drives you past obstacles that would stop a more tepid soul. Your anger, refined, becomes a demand for excellence and justice. Even your capacity for deep sadness can translate into profound empathy and artistic expression. The actionable step here is twofold. First, stop apologizing for your feelings. Grant them validity. Second, begin the Stoic practice of observation without immediate judgment or reaction. When a strong emotion rises, don't immediately label it bad or too much. Instead, get curious. What is this feeling telling me? Where is its energy originating? How can I aim this energy towards my purpose instead of letting it scatter or self-destruct? This isn't about becoming unfeeling. It's about becoming an incredibly potent, emotionally intelligent force. Your supposed emotional errors are your rocket fuel. Learn to ignite them with intention. Revelation 2. The error of obsessive curiosity, the seed of innovation. Remember being a kid and asking why, incessantly. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Why do we have to go to bed? At some point, many of us are told to stop. Don't ask so many questions. That's just the way it is. You think too much. This error, the relentless, often inconvenient drive to understand, to deconstruct, to look under the hood of reality, is dismissed as annoying, unproductive, or even subversive. The aliens, however, would recognize this immediately. This isn't an error. This is the very signature of an intellect straining at the leash of conventional understanding. This is the precursor to all innovation. Every significant breakthrough in human history, from the first controlled fire to the mapping of the human genome, began with someone. Obsessive curiosity. Someone who wasn't content with the surface-level explanation. Someone who kept poking, prodding, questioning, even when it made them unpopular or seemed like a waste of time. Your tendency to dive down rabbit holes, to challenge assumptions, to refuse to accept, because I said so, as an answer. This isn't a character flaw. It's a superpower in disguise. The brutal truth is that systems of control often discourage deep questioning because questions lead to change, and change is threatening to entrenched power. If you're constantly wondering, is there a better way? What if we tried this? Why does this rule exist? You are, by definition, a disruptive element. The negative consequence of suppressing this error of curiosity is intellectual stagnation. You accept the world as it's presented to you. You operate within the predefined lines. You become a passive recipient of information rather than an active seeker of truth and improvement. Your potential for unique insight, for genuine innovation, withers on the vine. The positive outcome: when you embrace and cultivate your obsessive curiosity, you become an engine of discovery. You see connections others miss. You identify problems others ignore. You find solutions others can't even conceive of. You are never bored because the world is an endless puzzle and you have an insatiable desire to find the pieces. The actionable step: weaponize your curiosity. Deliberately allocate time to explore things that genuinely fascinate you, even if they seem irrelevant to your current goals. Practice asking, why, 5 times to get to the root of any problem or assumption. When someone tells you that's just how it's done, let that be a trigger for your investigative mind, not a full stop. Read voraciously across disciplines. See your error of asking too many questions as your unique talent for unearthing hidden truths and forging new paths. The aliens wouldn't see a nuisance. They'd see a scout pushing the boundaries of the known. Revelation 3. The error of non-conformity, the mark of the unstoppable. There's a deep-seated human desire to belong, to fit in. And for those who naturally don't, for whom conformity feels like wearing a suit 3 sizes too small, life can be a series of painful reminders of their otherness. Being the black sheep, the weirdo, the rebel, these are often framed as errors in social adaptation. You failed to integrate. You didn't play the game right. The aliens, unburdened by our primate social anxieties, would see something else entirely. They'd see a refusal to be assimilated by the Borg of mediocrity. They'd see the signature of a mind strong enough to forge its own identity. Nonconformity isn't an error. It's often a testament to your integrity, your unwillingness to betray your own internal compass for the sake of social ease or acceptance. It's the courage to stand apart, to hold different values, to pursue a unique vision even when the crowd screams for you to get back in line. This is where Stoic resilience becomes absolutely critical. The path of the nonconformist is rarely smooth. It's paved with criticism, misunderstanding, and loneliness. But as Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, it never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. The error isn't your different path. The error is valuing the crowd's opinion over your own soul's calling. The negative consequence of succumbing to the pressure to conform, of treating your uniqueness as an error to be corrected, is a profound loss of self. You might gain superficial acceptance, but you lose your authentic power. You become a diluted, compromised version of who you could be. Your life becomes a performance, not an expression. And the gnawing sense of being an imposter will erode your strength from the inside out. The positive outcome of embracing your nonconformity is the forging of an unshakable inner core. When you've weathered the storms of social disapproval and remained true to yourself, you develop a rare and powerful form of mental toughness. You become an independent thinker, a leader by example, not by decree. Your errors, in fitting in, become the badges of your sovereignty. You attract those who resonate with your authenticity, not those who demand your compliance. The actionable step: define your own success, your own values, your own rules for life, and then live by them with ferocious commitment. When you feel the pull to conform against your better judgment, pause, ask yourself, am I acting from fear or from conviction? Practice saying no to things that don't align with your core, even if it's uncomfortable. Understand that your failure to be like everyone else is precisely what makes you capable of achieving what everyone else cannot. The aliens would note this. Those who deviate are those who evolve the species. Revelation 4. The error of impulsive action, the catalyst for breakthroughs when tempered with wisdom. Look before you leap. Solid advice, generally. But some individuals are wired for action, sometimes to a degree that society labels impulsive, reckless, or hasty. They get an idea and they move. They see an opportunity and they pounce. While unchecked impulsivity can certainly lead to unnecessary problems, the tendency to act decisively and quickly, even if it results in what others might call a mistake, is often a hallmark of high achievers and innovators. The aliens, observing from their vantage point, might see this not as an error in judgment, but as a highly efficient learning mechanism, rapid iteration. The paralysis of overthinking is a far more common and insidious error. in modern life. People spend weeks, months, even years analyzing, planning, and perfecting, only to never actually do anything. The impulsive actor, meanwhile, has already tried 3 things, failed twice, learned invaluable lessons, and is now on their 4th, much improved iteration. Their errors are not dead ends. They are data points gathered at speed. The genius isn't in avoiding all mistakes through endless deliberation. It's in making them quickly, learning from them instantly, and adapting faster than the competition. Of course, this isn't a call for blind recklessness. Wisdom involves tempering that bias for action with foresight and reflection. But the core error of acting too quickly, when viewed through a different lens, is actually a bias for experimentation. It's an intuitive leap that bypasses the bogged-down conscious mind. Many great discoveries and entrepreneurial successes came from someone acting on a hunch, a gut feeling, that others would have dismissed or overanalyzed into oblivion. The negative consequence of fearing this error of impulsive action is stagnation. You become trapped in a loop of what-ifs and if-onlys. Opportunities pass you by while you're still drawing up the perfect plan. Your potential energy remains locked, unexpressed. The world belongs to those who do, not just those who think about doing. The positive outcome of embracing a wisely channeled bias for action is momentum. Action creates clarity. Action generates feedback. Action builds confidence, even if the initial actions are errors. You learn by doing, and you learn much faster than those who are terrified to misstep. You become adaptable, resourceful, and far more resilient because you're constantly engaging with reality, not just theorizing about it. The actionable step: cultivate what I call intelligent impulsivity. When an idea or opportunity sparks, don't immediately shut it down with overanalysis. Give yourself a short, defined time frame for initial assessment, then act. Bias towards taking a small, reversible step to test the waters. For example, instead of spending 6 months writing a perfect business plan, can you test the core idea with a simple landing page or a conversation with a potential customer this week? Develop a robust post-action review process. After every significant action, especially those that didn't go as planned, your errors, dissect what happened, extract the lesson, and integrate it immediately. This transforms impulsive errors into accelerated learning. The aliens wouldn't see recklessness, they'd see a rapid prototyping mind. Revelation 5. The error of vulnerability and brutal honesty, the foundation of true connection and strength. In a world obsessed with curated perfection, with projecting an image of unflappable strength and flawless success, genuine vulnerability is often seen as a catastrophic error. To admit weakness, to confess uncertainty, to be brutally honest about your struggles or your less-than-perfect thoughts, this is terrifying for most. It feels like handing ammunition to your enemies. Similarly, being too direct, too blunt, not sugarcoating the truth, this is often labeled as an error in social grace, as being too harsh. The aliens, however, might see these errors as indicators of profound courage and a commitment to reality. Let's be brutally honest ourselves. The carefully constructed facade of perfection is fragile. It's exhausting to maintain. And paradoxically, it repels the very thing most people crave: genuine connection. People don't truly connect with airbrushed images. They connect with authentic, flawed, striving human beings. Your errors, your scars, your acknowledged imperfections, when owned with confidence and without apology, are not liabilities. They are magnets. They signal that you are real, that you are trustworthy, that you are not playing a game of pretense. This is where we can touch upon the truths about women, or more broadly, truths about human attraction and connection. Superficial charm and feigned perfection might attract superficial interest. But deep, lasting attraction, the kind that builds powerful alliances, partnerships, and respect, is often rooted in something far more raw and real. The strength to be vulnerable, to lay your cards on the table, to be unapologetically yourself, errors and all, is incredibly powerful. It takes immense courage to say, "This is who I am, this is what I've been through, these are my imperfections, and I stand by them." That kind of authentic power is magnetic. Predictable, error-free people are often boring. The unpredictable genius who wears their journey openly is compelling. The error is thinking that hiding your humanity makes you stronger or more attractive. The genius is realizing that your fully embraced, imperfect humanity is your greatest asset in connection. The negative consequence of treating vulnerability and honesty as errors is a life of isolation, even when surrounded by people. You build walls, not bridges. You live in fear of being found out. Your relationships remain superficial because they are built on pretense, not truth. You become brittle because any crack in the facade feels like total collapse. The positive outcome is profound. When you embrace strategic vulnerability, not oversharing with everyone, but being genuinely open with those who have earned your trust, you build unbreakable bonds. When you practice brutal honesty, with yourself first and then with others, delivered with respect, but without dilution, you cut through nonsense, build trust, and command respect. You become known as someone solid, someone real. Your errors in social politeness, when they stem from a commitment to truth, become marks of your integrity. The actionable step: start with radical self-honesty. Acknowledge your flaws and mistakes to yourself without judgment. Then practice strategic vulnerability. Choose one person you trust and share something real, something imperfect about yourself. Notice how it deepens the connection rather than weakening it. In your communication, aim for assertive honesty. This isn't about being an asshole, it's about valuing truth over comfort, expressed constructively. When you catch yourself wanting to hide an error or a weakness, ask yourself if owning it might actually be the stronger, more connecting move. The aliens would see this error as a highly evolved form of social signaling, indicating high self-worth and a capacity for genuine bonding. Revelation 6. The Error of Failure, the Masterclass in Resilience. This is perhaps the biggest human error that the aliens would see as pure, unadulterated genius, our capacity to fail and, more importantly, to learn and rise from failure. Society demonizes failure. It's the ultimate mark of shame, the F on your report card, the pink slip, the ended relationship. We are conditioned from a young age to avoid failure at all costs. But what if failure isn't the end? What if it's the crucible? What if every failure is simply a high-intensity training session for your resilience, your creativity, and your problem-solving abilities? The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Failure is an event. Your response to it determines whether it becomes a tombstone or a stepping stone. The unpredictable genius doesn't avoid failure, they leverage it. They see it not as a verdict on their worth, but as critical data. Each error, each misstep, each plan that goes spectacularly wrong is a lesson paid for in the currency of effort and experience. To waste that lesson by collapsing into shame or blame is the true failure. Think about any great inventor, entrepreneur, or artist. Their stories are littered with failures. James Dyson and his 5,126 failed vacuum prototypes. Thomas Edison and his thousands of attempts before a working light bulb. These weren't errors in the sense of being final, they were iterations. Each failure ruled out one path and illuminated others. This is the essence of unpredictable genius. The willingness to venture into the unknown, to risk falling flat on your face, because you understand that the insights gained from that fall are invaluable. The negative consequence of fearing failure, of treating it as the ultimate error, is a life lived in the shallow end. You never attempt anything truly audacious because the risk of failing is too terrifying. You settle for guaranteed mediocrity over the possibility of spectacular success preceded by necessary setbacks. Your potential remains a hypothesis, untested and unproven. Weakness festers in the soil of unrisked attempts. The positive outcome of reframing failure as a masterclass is the development of true anti-fragility. You don't just bounce back from setbacks. You bounce back stronger, smarter, more determined. Failure becomes your teacher, your sharpening stone. You develop a calm confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you because you've learned to extract wisdom from adversity. Your errors become your war stories, testaments to your courage and your capacity to adapt and overcome. The actionable step: actively reframe every failure or significant error. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to immediately blame or despair. Instead, conduct a ruthless post-mortem. Ask, what exactly happened? What was my role? What can I control next time? What is the one crucial lesson I can extract from this? Crucially, celebrate the attempt. Acknowledge the courage it took to try something where failure was a possibility. Develop a failure recovery system, a personal ritual or process for analyzing setbacks and integrating their lessons quickly. Start to see your failures not as evidence of your inadequacy, but as essential waypoints on the path to your unique, unpredictable genius. The aliens wouldn't pity your failures. They'd be fascinated by your relentless learning algorithm. Now we move beyond individual revelations to the practical application. How do you actively harness this understanding of human error as unpredictable genius in your daily life? How do you operationalize this alien perspective to build an unstoppable mindset? This requires forging new habits, embracing Stoic principles, and consciously choosing to see your so-called flaws as the fingerprints of your potential. Harnessing your human error for unstoppable genius. Practical Stoic strategies. First, implement a daily error reframe practice. At the end of each day, identify one moment where you felt you made a mistake, fell short, or experienced something that felt like an error. Instead of letting negative thinking spiral, consciously apply the alien lens. Ask, if this error were actually a sign of budding genius, what would that genius be? What unconventional strength might it point to? What was I attempting that was outside the norm? What can I learn from this that a perfectly functioning automaton could not? This isn't about delusion. It's about pattern recognition for your unique strengths. Second, embrace the Stoic discipline of perception. Your interpretations create your reality. When faced with a setback or criticism related to one of your idiosyncrasies, your intensity, your curiosity, your non-conformity, actively choose to see it not as a flaw, but as a characteristic of your unique operating system. Practice negative visualization, not to dwell on the bad, but to prepare for it. Imagine the worst-case scenario if your error leads to a problem. Then strategize how your unpredictable genius would handle it, adapt, and even thrive. This builds resilience against the fear of making mistakes. Third, cultivate the habit of purposeful imperfection. Deliberately step outside your comfort zone in small, manageable ways where errors are likely. This could be trying a new skill you know you'll be bad at initially, speaking up with an unconventional idea in a low-stakes environment, or simply allowing yourself to be less than perfectly polished in a social interaction. The goal is to desensitize yourself to the discomfort of imperfection and to collect data on how your genius responds and learns. Each small error you navigate successfully chips away at the fear of larger ones and builds your confidence in your adaptive capabilities. Fourth, master your internal dialogue. The voice that labels your deviations as errors is often an internalized critic echoing societal programming or past negative experiences. You must actively counter this voice. When it pipes up with "you're too emotional," counter with "my emotional depth is my power source." When it says "you ask too many stupid questions," reply "my curiosity uncovers what others miss." This isn't about affirmations pasted over deep-seated beliefs. It's about a conscious, assertive rescripting of your self-talk based on this new, empowering framework. Destroy weakness by starving the negative thoughts that feed it. Fifth, practice energy mastery not just with emotions, but with focus. Your unpredictable genius needs fuel. Identify where your energy is currently being wasted, perhaps on trying to please everyone, on dwelling on past errors without extracting lessons, or on consuming mindless content. Ruthlessly cut these drains. Redirect that reclaimed energy towards activities that allow your unique genius to flourish. Deep work on projects that ignite your passion, learning that feeds your curiosity, actions that express your non-conformity in a constructive way. Sixth, specifically regarding interaction and attractiveness, as we touched on with vulnerability, understand that authentic, unpredictable strength is inherently magnetic. Stop trying to be the flawless version of what you think others want. Instead, focus on becoming the most potent, self-aware, and purpose-driven version of yourself, errors and all. The error is trying to fit a predefined mold of attractiveness. The genius is recognizing that your unique combination of strengths, quirks, and even your own flaws, which are often just deviations from the bland norm, create a far more compelling and attractive presence. Your energy, your confidence in your own unconventional path, your resilience in the face of setbacks, these are deeply attractive qualities that shine brightest when you stop trying to hide the errors that forged them. Finally, live by a stoic code of action and reflection. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one, said Marcus Aurelius. Similarly, waste no more time lamenting your errors. Recognize their potential, extract their wisdom, and then act. Your unpredictable genius is not a passive state. It is expressed through doing, through creating, through striving. And after action, always reflect. What worked? What didn't? How did my unique approach, my supposed error, actually contribute or detract? This continuous loop of action and reflection is the engine of self-improvement and the pathway to unleashing your full, unstoppable potential. The journey we've taken today is about a fundamental shift in perception. It's about looking at the very things you've been taught to hide, to shame, to fix, and realizing that within them lies the very essence of your unique power, your unpredictable genius. The aliens, in their hypothetical wisdom, saw through the superficial label of human error to the extraordinary adaptive, innovative, and resilient core of humanity. Now, it's your turn to see that in yourself. Stop apologizing for the intensity that fuels your drive. Stop stifling the curiosity that could lead to your next breakthrough. Stop trying to sand down the edges of your nonconformity that mark you as an original. Stop fearing the impulsive action that could be your leap into a new reality. Stop hiding behind a facade of perfection and embrace the authentic strength of your vulnerability and honesty. And most critically, stop demonizing the failures that are, in truth, your most potent teachers. These aren't just motivational platitudes. These are strategic imperatives for anyone serious about destroying weakness, building unshakable mental toughness, and cultivating an unstoppable mindset in a world that often prefers you to be predictable and tame. The errors are where your unique code is written. They are the anomalies that signal something extraordinary, not something deficient. The brutal truth is that embracing your unpredictable genius isn't easy. It requires courage. It requires resilience. It requires a willingness to stand apart and to face down your own internalized critic and the skepticism of others. But the alternative, a life spent trying to erase your own signature, to conform to a standard that was never meant for you, is a far greater tragedy. Your task now is not to eliminate your errors. It is to understand them, to harness them, to refine the genius they hint at. It's to build the habits of mind and action that transform perceived flaws into undeniable strengths. It's to apply these Stoic principles of perception, action, and resilience to the raw material of your unique human experience. So go forth from this moment with a new understanding. Look at your life, your past mistakes, your current challenges through this alien lens. See the patterns of your unpredictable genius emerging from the data of your human errors. Commit to the path of radical self-improvement, not by becoming someone else, but by becoming more fiercely, intelligently, and powerfully yourself. The world doesn't need another cog. It desperately needs your unpredictable, unstoppable genius. Unleash it. The time for apology is over. The time for mastery is now.